Hi, I am Sivaya, lecturer in physics, working in Vignan institutions. In this session, I am going to explain the force acting on the charge and force acting on the current carrying wire placed in the uniform magnetic field. Okay? So the contents of this today's session are introduction, force acting on the charge moving in the magnetic field, force acting on the current carrying conductor in the magnetic field, followed by some problems. Okay? Now come to the force acting on a moving charge in the magnetic field. Look at the screen. Let it be the uniform magnetic field of induction B. It is represented by the straight arrows with equal spacing, which indicates the uniform magnetic field. Inside that uniform magnetic field, let us consider a charge of mass m carrying a charge q. Suppose the charge is moving inside the magnetic field with velocity v. Let us assume that theta is the angle between the direction of the magnetic field and the velocity of the particle. Here, m is the mass of the particle, q is the charge of the particle, v is the velocity of the particle, b is the magnetic induction of the uniform magnetic field, and theta is the angle between the direction of the magnetic field and the velocity vector. So by performing so many experiments, it is concluded that the moving charge experiences some force inside the magnetic field, and it is estimated as F is equal to QVB sin theta. The force acting on the charge moving in the magnetic field is given by F is equal to QVB sin theta. So the force depends upon the charge Q, the velocity of the particle v, the magnetic induction of the field B, and the angle between the velocity and the magnetic field vector. Okay, F is equal to QVB sin theta, which gives the magnitude of the force. But we know that force is a vector quantity. That's why we have to specify the direction also. That's why if we write down the force in the vector form, we can write it as F bar is equal to QVB sin theta n cap, or F bar is equal to Q times V bar cross B bar. Here n cap is the unit vector which is perpendicular to the both V bar and B bar, and F bar is the cross product of the velocity vector and the magnetic induction vector. That's why the direction of the force is perpendicular to the plane containing both the velocity vector and the magnetic induction vector. Now, the direction of the force can be decided by seeing the diagram. Here, the velocity vector and the magnetic induction vector are lying in a plane by making some angle theta with each other. Now, the direction of the force acting on the particle is always perpendicular to the plane containing both V bar and B bar. The direction is decided by the screw rule or the right hand rule. So by using this formula, we can determine the magnitude of the force, and by using this formula, we can decide the direction of the force acting on the charged particle. Now I am going to discuss some cases regarding to the motion of the particle in the magnetic field. For that, come to the case 1. If suppose the charge is at rest, that means the velocity of the charge is equal to 0, then what happens? If the velocity of the particle is equal to 0, then the force acting on the charge F is equal to 0. Suppose the charge is moving inside the magnetic field with some velocity in the direction of the field, then in this case theta is equal to 0 degrees. Then we know that sin 0 is equal to 0, so that the force acting on the particle is equal to 0. If suppose the particle is moving with some velocity v in a direction opposite to the magnetic field, then in this case theta is equal to 180 degrees, and we know that sin 180 is also equal to 0, then also the force is equal to 0. See, that means when the charge is either at rest or moving parallel or anti-parallel to the magnetic field, then the force acting on the charged particle is equal to 0. If suppose theta is equal to 90 degrees, it means the charge is moving perpendicular to the magnetic field. Then what happened? We know that sin 90 is maximum, that's why the force acting on the charged particle is also maximum, and that F maximum is given by QVB. Now in this case the direction of the force can be decided by the Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's left hand rule. So let us take the left hand, open the three fingers, thumb, index finger and middle finger perpendicular to the one another as shown in the figure. If suppose the index finger indicates the direction of the magnetic field and the middle finger indicates the direction of the velocity, then the thumb indicates the direction of the force acting on the particle. This is the Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's left hand rule. So here index finger indicates the direction of the magnetic field, whereas the middle finger indicates the direction of the velocity of the particle, then the thumb indicates the direction of the force acting on the particle. Okay? Now here we decide the direction of the force acting on the positive charge. Sometimes the negative charge may also move in the magnetic field. In such cases, just find the direction of the force acting on the positive charge and reverse the direction of the force, which gives the direction of the force acting on the negative particle. That means the direction of the force acting on the negative particle is opposite to the direction of the force acting on the positive particle. Now come to the force acting on current carrying conductor placed in the magnetic field. To understand this, we have to recall the two concepts what we studied, one in the current electricity and the other one in the present session. Here, if suppose there is a current carrying conductor, if we create a potential difference, then electric field is produced inside the wire. Because of this electric field, the electrons are moving with some average velocity called as the drift velocity, and due to this drift velocity some current is passing inside the conductor, which is given by the formula I is equal to NAVDE. So we studied this concept in the current electricity. And the second concept is the concept just what we studied in this session. Whenever a charge is moving inside the magnetic field, some force is acting on the charge. It is given by F is equal to QVB sin theta. The letters are having their own meanings, and I will explain that meaning in the coming session. I will explain in the coming part of the session. Now, let us consider a uniform magnetic field. This is represented by the straight arrows with equal spacing. This is the magnetic field. inside this magnetic field, let us assume a current carrying conductor having uniform cross section. See, this is the current carrying conductor having uniform cross section. Let L is the length of the conductor. Now A is the area of the cross section of the conductor. This is the area of the cross section. Suppose N is the concentration of the free electrons in the conductor. Concentration means the number of the free electrons per 1 unit volume. Let N is the concentration of the electrons in the conductor. Let B is the magnetic induction of this magnetic field. And let theta is the angle between the conductor and the magnetic field. Okay? Now, let us assume that the electrons are moving with some average velocity called as the drift velocity. Let Vd is the drift velocity. Due to the drift velocity of the electrons, current is passing through the conductor. Let I is the current passing through the conductor. Now, whenever the current is passing through the conductor, what happened to it? We know that current passing through the conductor means the electrons are moving inside the conductor. Whenever the electrons are moving inside the conductor, we know that some force is acting on the electrons. That's why on each and every electron some force is acting. Because of that, all the electrons inside the conductor will experience some force. Because of that, the conductor which is carrying current also experiences some force whenever it is placed inside the magnetic field. Okay? Now I am going to calculate the force acting on the conductor. It can be indirectly calculated by calculating the force acting on all electrons present inside the conductor during the passage of the current. For that, I am going to follow the step-by-step procedure. First of all, here L is the length of the conductor and A is the area of the conductor. Then, what is the volume of the conductor? The volume of the conductor is given by P is equal to AM. Let it be equation number 1. Now, already we know the concentration of the electrons in the conductor. Concentration means the number of the electrons present per 1 unit volume. It contains n electrons per 1 unit volume. Then, how many number of the electrons are present in V volume? So, for V volume, how many number of the electrons are present? Let it be capital N. The total number of the electrons present in the entire conductor is given by N is equal to NV, that is equal to NAL. Let it be equation number 2. Already we know that whenever the electron is moving inside the conductor, some force is acting on it according to the formula F is equal to QVB sin theta. Here Q is the charge of the particle. In this case, the particle is nothing but the electron. That's why the charge of the particle is nothing but the charge of the electron, which can be denoted by small e. Now, due to the motion of that electron, the charge acting on one electron is given by F dash is equal to E Vd B sin theta. Let it be equation number 3. Here E is the charge of the electron, Vd is the drift velocity, and B is the magnetic induction. Theta is the angle between the direction of the motion of the electron and the magnetic induction. Now we get the force acting on one electron. If suppose F dash is the force acting on one electron, then what is the total force acting on all electrons? What is the total force acting on all electrons? The total force acting on all electrons is given by number of the electrons into the force on one electron, that is F is equal to N F dash. By substituting this N value and F dash value, we have F is equal to NALEVD B sin theta. This is the force acting on all electrons inside the conductor. We know that the force acting on all electrons inside the conductor is nothing but the force acting on the conductor. And the force acting on the conductor is given by F is equal to, I am rearranging the letters, N, A, V, D, E into L, B, sin theta. So the force acting on the conductor is equal to the force acting on all electrons in the conductor, that is equal to N, A, V, D, E, L, B, sin theta. Already we know that the current passing through the conductor I is equal to N, A, V, D, E. By substituting this in this equation, we have F is equal to I, L, B, sin theta. Okay? Whenever a current carrying conductor is placed inside the magnetic field, the force acting on the conductor can be determined by using this formula. F is equal to I, L, B, sin theta. I is the current passing through the conductor, L is the length of the conductor, and B is the magnetic induction of the field. Theta is the angle between the length of the conductor and the magnetic field. Okay? We know that force is a vector quantity. That's why vectorically the force can be expressed as F bar is equal to I times L bar cross B bar. So this gives the vectorical representation of the force acting on the conductor. Now, how to decide the direction of the force? The direction of the force can be determined by using the right hand rule. Here, L bar and B bar are lying in a plane. Now, the direction of the force is perpendicular to the plane containing both L bar and B bar as shown in the figure. Okay? This is the vectorical representation of the force acting on the conductor. Now I am going to discuss the different cases for the force acting on the conductor. For that, let us come to the first case. If suppose the conductor is placed inside the magnetic field such that the length of the conductor is parallel to the magnetic field and the direction of the current is in the direction of the magnetic field. In that case, the angle between the length vector and the magnetic field theta is equal to 0, then the force F is equal to ILB sin theta, which is equal to 0. Why? Because sin 0 is equal to 0. If suppose theta is equal to 180 degrees, it means the direction of the current passing through the conductor is opposite to the direction of the magnetic field like this, and the length of the conductor is parallel to the magnetic field. In this case, theta is equal to 180 degrees. In this case also the force F is equal to 0. Why? Because sin 180 is equal to 0. Now come to the another case where theta is equal to 90 degrees. In this case, here the current carrying conductor is placed in the magnetic field such that the length is perpendicular to the magnetic field vector. In this case, what happened? We know that sin 90 is equal to 1, which is maximum. That's why the force is also maximum, and that force is given by F maximum is equal to ILB. Okay? That means when the current carrying conductor is placed in the magnetic field such that the direction of the current is either parallel to the magnetic field or perpendicular to the magnetic field, then the force is equal to 0. If the current carrying conductor is held perpendicular to the magnetic field, the force is maximum, and that maximum force is given by ILB. In this case, the direction of the force can be decided by the Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's left hand rule. See, this is Fleming's left hand rule. Let us take your left hand such that the thumb, index finger and middle finger are held perpendicular to one another as shown in the figure. So the thumb finger, the index finger and the middle finger are held perpendicular to one another. If suppose the index finger indicates the direction of the magnetic field, the index finger indicates the direction of the magnetic field and the middle finger indicates the direction of the current, then the thumb finger indicates the direction of the force. Here, see, the index finger indicates the direction of the magnetic field, the middle finger indicates the direction of the current, then the thumb finger indicates the direction of the force. By using this Fleming's left hand rule, we can decide the direction of the force acting on the current carrying conductor placed in the magnetic field at right angle. So what is the meaning of the fingers? So the index finger indicates the direction of the magnetic field, whereas the middle finger indicates the direction of the current, then the thumb indicates the direction of the force acting on the current carrying conductor. Now, while deriving these equations, we assumed that the conductor is in the form of a straight wire. If suppose the conductor is not in the form of a straight wire, and suppose the conductor may be in the any shape like this, let I is the current passing through the conductor. In such case, what we have to do, and the angle made by the conductor is different at different places, then what we have to do? In such cases, whenever the given conductor is in the form of a bending wire, in such cases, let us join the initial point and the final point by means of a vector like this. Now, this vector gives L bar. This vector gives L bar, and the angle between this L bar and B bar gives the theta value, and by using the cross product, F bar is equal to I times L bar cross B bar, we can determine the magnetic field value. In such cases, don't take the entire length of the wire as L while calculating the force value by using the formula F is equal to ILB sin theta. Right? Now, for the straight conductor and for the conductor in the form of a bending shape, we can determine the force by using the formula F bar is equal to I times L bar cross B bar. Now, I am going to explain some problems to understand the concepts what I have explained in the present class. For that, find the force acting on the wire whose ends are having coordinates 1, 2 and 4, 6 placed in the magnetic field of intensity minus 5K bar shown in the figure. Here, the magnetic field is represented by the cross marks and it is given as B bar is equal to minus 5K bar. It indicates that the field is acting along the negative z-axis direction. Now, the coordinates of the ends of the wire are given as A 1, 2 and B 4, 6. Now, if suppose I is the current passing through the wire, then we want to determine the magnetic force acting on the wire due to the passage of the current. For that, what we have to do? We know that the formula is F bar is equal to I times L bar cross B bar. Here, the given wire is not in the form of a straight wire, it is in the bending shape. In such cases, what we have to do? Let us join the initial point and final point by means of a straight line vector. This gives the length vector. We know the coordinates of the beginning of the wire and also the coordinates of the ending of the wire. From that, the length vector can be determined by the formula L bar is equal to x2 minus x1 I bar plus y2 minus y1 j bar. This is equal to 3 I bar plus 4 j bar. This is the length vector of the given wire, and the magnetic field vector is also given. Then the force can be determined by F bar is equal to I times L bar cross B bar. This is equal to I times 3I plus 4j multiplied with minus 5k bar. So by expanding this, it becomes I times minus 15 I cap cross k cap minus 20 j cap cross k cap. This is equal to I times, we know that I cross k is equal to minus j. Minus minus cancel and it becomes 15 j cap. Next, j bar cross k bar is equal to I bar, so that minus 20 I bar. So this gives the force acting on the wire. Now, by knowing the current value, by taking the magnitude of the vector, we can determine the magnitude of the force acting on the wire. Okay? Whenever the wire is not in the form of a straight wire, we have to first find out the length vector. After that, we have to find the force acting on the wire. We get the answer in the vector form. By determining the magnitude of the vector, we can determine the magnitude of the force acting on the wire. Okay? Come to the another one. Find the force acting on the semicircular arc wire of radius R placed in the magnetic field of intensity B shown in the figure. Here, two diagrams are given us, and in these two diagrams, we are going to determine the force acting on the wires. Now, in the first case, see what is the direction of the magnetic field? It is perpendicular to the board and entering into the board like this. Whereas, the given wire is in the form of the semicircular arc. That's why, let us join the initial point and final point by means of a straight line. We get the length vector. Okay? Now, here, what is the formula for the force? The force F is equal to ILB sin theta. Here, what is the angle theta? The magnetic field is entering into the board and the length vector is in the horizontal direction, so that both are perpendicular to one another, so that this theta is equal to 90 degrees. That's why it becomes ILB. Here, what is L? L is the length of the wire. In this case, what is the length of the wire? Is it equal to the length of the entire semicircular wire? No. The length of the wire here means only the magnitude of the length vector, which is nothing but the diameter of the semicircular wire, which is equal to 2r. So that we can write it as I times 2rb. This is equal to 2IRB. And the direction of the force can be decided by the Fleming's left hand rule. This one indicates the direction of the B and this one indicates the direction of the current, so that this thumb indicates the direction of the force which is acting in the upward direction like this. Now come to the second case. In the second case, here also the semicircular wire is placed in the uniform magnetic field. If suppose we join the initial point and the final point by means of a vector, how it is? The length vector is parallel to the magnetic field vector. That's why in this case, the angle between the length vector and the magnetic field vector, theta is equal to 0 degrees. If theta is equal to 0 degrees, then the force F is equal to ILB sin theta, which is equal to ILB sin 0,
We know that sin 0 is equal to 0, so that the force is also equal to 0. Now, here and here we have the wire of same length, same shape and same size. But depending upon the orientation, depending upon the direction of the length vector and the magnetic field vector, the force may be different even on the same wire placed in the magnetic field. Okay? Now, come to the next problem. A straight wire of length 1 meter carrying a current of 5 amperes. Its linear density is 5 gram per meter. If the wire hangs horizontally in air without support, then the magnetic field applied is dash. Here, the length of the wire is given L is equal to 1 meter. It is carrying a current of 5 amperes, so I is equal to 5 amperes. And the linear density of the wire is given. Linear density means mass per unit length. This is equal to 5 gram per meter, which is equal to 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3 kg per meter. Now, this wire is held horizontally without any support. Already we know that whenever there is a body, the weight of the body is acting vertically downwards. Because of that weight, the body falls down. But it is given that is not falling, it supports without any support. It is possible only when the equal amount of the force is acting on the wire in the upper direction to balance the weight of the body. Here, who applies that force? That force is applied by means of the magnetic field. Now, to apply the force along this direction, what is the direction of the magnetic field required and what is the strength of the magnetic field required? That is our question. The direction of the magnetic field can be decided by the Fleming's left hand rule. Okay? Here, this gives the direction of the magnetic field, the middle finger gives the direction of the current, whereas the thumb gives the direction of the force. Now, the force is in the direction of the thumb, the current is in the direction of the middle finger, then the index finger gives the direction of the magnetic field, which is perpendicular to the board and entering into the board like this. Now, I am going to determine the strength of the magnetic field. For that, let B is the strength of the magnetic field, which is to be determined. If B is the strength of the magnetic field, then what is the force acting on the conductor due to the magnetic field? That force is given by ILB sin theta. Here what is theta? Theta is the angle between the length and the magnetic field. Here the length is along the x-axis direction, whereas the magnetic field is along the z-axis direction, perpendicular to the plane and into the board. That's why the angle is equal to 90 degrees. So that this is equal to ILB, which is the force due to the magnetic field. Whenever the force due to the magnetic field balances the weight of the body, then the wire supports. That's why to balance the force due to the magnetic field must be equal to the weight of the wire. That means ILB is equal to mg. From this we have to find out the B value, that B is equal to mg divided by IL. So m by value is given for us. This m by L is equal to 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3 into G is equal to 10 divided by I is equal to 5. So that this is equal to 10 into 10 to the power of minus 3 Tesla. Like this, we can determine the strength of the magnetic field and also the direction of the magnetic field required to support a wire. Now come to the next problem. A straight wire of length L can slide on two horizontal rails shown in the figure. The coefficient of the friction between the rails and the wire is mu. The minimum magnetic field required to slide the wire is dash. Here, suppose these two are the rails which are held in the horizontal direction like this, but that one is represented in the three-dimensional diagram in the figure itself. Now, under the horizontal rails, A current carrying conductor is held like this, which is carrying a current. Now, we want to move the conductor like this. Now, to move the conductor, what field is required? That is our question. Basically, my question is, why that field is required to move the conductor? Why? Because whenever we are moving the conductor on the rails, automatically between the rails and the conductor there is some opposing force which is called as the frictional force, and that frictional force is given by the formula friction F is equal to mu mg, which opposes the motion of the body. Now, if suppose we want to move the wire along this direction, we have to apply some force. We have to apply some force on the wire. Here, that force is going to be applied by means of the magnetic field. Now, here also we want to determine the strength of the magnetic field and the direction of the magnetic field required to move the wire. Now, for that, what is the direction of the magnetic field? Suppose this is the wire on which we are going to apply the magnetic field. Here we have to move the wire along this direction. That's why the direction of the force must be like this. Here, the current is flowing from this side to this side. The middle finger indicates the direction of the current like this. Then, see, the thumb indicates the direction of the force. The middle finger indicates the direction of the current. Then, the index finger indicates the direction of the magnetic field, which is in the vertically upward direction like this. Now, this is applied in the vertically upward direction, for which we are going to determine the magnitude. Already we know that the force due to the magnetic field Fm is equal to ILB sin theta. Here, what is the angle between L and B? L is in the horizontal direction, B is in the vertical direction, so that the angle is equal to 90 degrees. That's why this is equal to ILB. Whenever the force due to the magnetic field is equal to the frictional force, then the opposition will be overcoming and the wire can slide. So that we can write it as, to slide, ILB is equal to mu mg. From this we can write B is equal to mu mg divided by IL. By knowing the values of the parameters of this equation, we can determine the strength of the magnetic field. Okay? Now come to the next and last problem. A straight wire of length L and mass M carrying a current I is placed on the smooth inclined plane shown in the figure. A uniform magnetic field B is applied in the region vertically upwards. The minimum magnetic field required to prevent the sliding of the wire is dash. Here, a wire is placed on the inclined plane of inclination theta. Here, this wire is carrying a current perpendicular to the plane and entering into the board, which is represented by the cross mark. Now, in this region, the magnetic field is applied. Now, basically, what are the forces acting on the wire? We know that the weight of the wire is always acting vertically downwards. And the second one is the normal force applied by the plane on the wire. The third one is the force applied by the magnetic field on the wire. Here, the direction of this force can be decided again by means of the Fleming's left hand rule. Okay? The magnetic field is acting in a vertically upward direction, whereas the current is entering into the board like this. That's why the direction of the force is in the horizontal direction towards right side. That's why this is the force due to the magnetic field. Now, for the convenience, I am going to resolve the weight into two components, one component parallel to the plane, one component perpendicular to the plane. If this is theta, this is also theta. Now, knowing this theta and mg, the two components can be written as mg sin theta and mg cos theta. Similarly, the force due to the magnetic field can also be resolved into two components, one component parallel to the plane and one component perpendicular to the plane. And if this is theta, this is also theta. Now, by knowing this Fm value and theta value, the two components can be given by Fm cos theta and Fm sin theta. Now, in this diagram, different forces are acting. Perpendicular to the plane, there is no motion, That's why we can write M is equal to mg cos theta plus Fm sin theta. And parallel to the plane, mg sin theta pulls the wire in the downward direction, Fm cos theta pulls the wire in the upward direction. In the problem it is given that the field required to prevent the sliding of the wire. So the sliding of the wire is prevented only when this mg sin theta is balanced by this Fm cos theta. That's why to prevent sliding, this mg sin theta is equal to Fm cos theta. We know that this Fm is equal to force due to the magnetic field, which is given by the formula Fm is equal to ILB. Now by substituting that, it becomes ILB cos theta. By taking all the terms to the side except B, we have B is equal to mg sin theta divided by IL cos theta. This is equal to mg tan theta divided by IL. Okay, so while solving these problems, so concepts from the different lessons are given. In one problem, the concept of the friction and the force due to the magnetic field are involved. In one problem, the concept of the inclined plane and the force due to the magnetic field are involved. In one problem, the condition of the equilibrium is involved. So by seeing the problems, you have to understand what forces are acting and how to keep the wire in the equilibrium. By that, we can solve the problems. So practice many more problems from the other books and try to be perfect while solving the problems. Okay? Thank you one and all. We will meet in the next session.